Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan M.S. Pearce. This is goodness me, what is it? A pull your hair out breaking news update about, I'd say US politics. It's about UK politics being invaded by someone that needs to just sod off. Okay, rewind. What's going on? My goodness, I turn on the internet and I turn on Twitter, and this is the first thing that comes up, an Elon Musk tweet. Of course it is, because he has loaded the algorithm to give himself his own private megaphone. We know that the code is in favor of anything he says. He is amplified on Twitter. The people that he likes are amplified on Twitter. His political leanings are amplified on Twitter. And those he doesn't like, Ukraine, Democrats, blah, 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 they are de-amplified on Twitter. Okay, so we get what Twitter is. It's a megaphone for him and his ideology. Elon Musk is presently involved in trying to influence a political outcome in a number of countries in a way that's truly damaging for global security, for global stability. And my goodness, right, we are used to hearing about this relationship, the special relationship between the US and the UK, right? We are the first people to come to the US's assistance. Talk about Iraq. As problematic as that was, who was there behind the US, the UK? We are there for the US, and the US has been there for us in going back in history in terms of Second World War, etc., etc. Okay, so there's supposed to be this special relationship. Now, if something like what has taken place in the last 24, 48 hours took place on a previous administration with someone who's not just politically adjacent to the White House, but is actually ensconced well within the White House as an unelected oligarch, as someone who funded the incoming president's campaign, who was almost single-handedly responsible for Trump getting into government. For this person to be waging war on the UK is insanely dangerous. This is a national security issue. This is a geopolitical issue. Holy crap. Musk needs to shut the hell up. But not only that, he's now tonight been talking about Canada and about, getting involved in the Canadian elections. He's been involved in the German elections with advocating for AfD and essentially their neo-Nazi far-right ideology. He has been advocating for neo-Nazis in Belgium. He has been sticking his oar in all over the shop. He has been involved in conversations with Nigel Farage of Reform UK because he has been, there has been talk about him funding Reform UK, which is not even a political party, it's a private entity of Nigel Farage to the tune of £100 million. So on and so forth. He is getting involved in politics and trying to affect political change in the worst possible way all around the world at the moment. This man, as the wealthiest man on earth, this is like a Bond villain of old. What the hell is going on? So what has been going on? Well, he has gone to town on the UK government. He has effectively waged political war with the UK, and it is not acceptable. As Jürgen Naudit said earlier, in 1 hour, Elon Musk wrote or forwarded 23 posts criticising the British government. 1 hour, 23 posts. And yet you see all the people on the back of Jürgen Naudit saying this, all like Musk acolytes or trolls getting involved saying, yeah, this is absolutely brilliant, go for it. This is not brilliant. This is really bad for international relations. So let's try and get an understanding of what's gone on before we look at some more of what Musk has said and what other people have said in kind of retaliation to Musk. Honestly, there's so much content to talk about. I can't even express a hundredth of what has taken place in the last 48 hours. But let's just read through this quickly. Musk is accused of politicizing, and I'm going to use the word grape as a euphemism because otherwise YouTube doesn't like it. Grape of young girls in the UK to attack Keir Starmer, the UK Prime Minister. Ex-health worker who exposed the paedophile ring says billionaires triggering of row ignores the plight of survivors. Elon Musk has politicised the rape of young girls in the UK in an attempt to attack Keir Starmer, a former health worker who exposed a major paedophile ring, has told The Guardian. Sarah Rowbotham, who gathered evidence that led to the imprisonment of 9 men in Rochdale, which is a northern city in the UK, said the tech billionaire had launched a political swipe at the Prime Minister that overlooked the plight of abuse survivors. The Tesla owner, who will have a key role in Donald Trump's incoming administration, on Friday called on King Charles to step in and dissolve Parliament after Labour rejected a call for a national inquiry into child grooming. Musk triggered the row on Thursday over Starmer's handling of child abuse in Oldham after he suggested the Prime Minister had failed to bring grape gangs to justice when he was Director of Public Prosecution. So before Keir Starmer was the Prime Minister, he was previously head of the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, and he's a man ensconced in the legal cloisters of the UK. Rowbotham, who made hundreds of referrals detailing the abuse and sexual grooming while working for the NHS in Rochdale between 2005 and 2011, said, "What is Musk's motivation for interfering? It seems very political. The person he is trying to go after is Keir Starmer. It is a political swipe that has nothing to do with the women and girls who have been abused time after time." So this is someone who's got intimate knowledge of what has taken place with the people, and I'm not going to get into long weeds of what actually happened. There does need to be, more work done on this big time. But the way that Musk is going about this is insanely problematic. So Musk, who owns X, formerly Twitter, has used the social media site to post or repost about child grooming in the UK more than 40 times over the past 24 hours. The man is obsessed, right? Several posts are from UK MPs, including Reform UK's Rupert Lowe, not least of which he used to be the owner of Southampton Football Club. Only joking. I'm a Pompey supporter. And the Tories' Robert Jenrick, while others include a video featuring the far-right activist Tommy Robinson, more on him in a minute, who in October was jailed for 18 months for contempt of court. Actually, not in a minute. So Tommy Robinson's a far-right activist in the UK, EDL, etc., a political ne'er-do-well who pleaded guilty and went to prison for contempt of court, right? This is not controversial. You've got Musk now calling for him to be freed as he's some kind of martyr. No, he's not. No, he's not at all. If you know who Tommy Robinson is, he's far from that. But this is what Musk is doing, and he's causing all sorts of a ruckus in the UK political scene. On Friday, Musk shared a post asking whether the King should dissolve Parliament and order a general election for the sake of security of the UK. He retweeted the X thread with a one-word comment, yes. The Safeguarding Minister, Jess Phillips, previously, so she's a Labour minister, a female who advocates for female safeguarding, domestic abuse, etc., etc. She has been a tireless advocate for victims over a long period of time. Actually, I really like Jess Phillips. If you listen to her interviewed, I've seen her play. I've recently watched 2 appearances on James Acaster's comedy podcast. She is a decent human being. She gets absolutely lambasted by the right, big time. And Musk, who won't know her from Adam, has absolutely piled in on her, and in a really egregious manner. So anyway, the Safeguarding Minister, Jess Phillips, previously said in a letter to Oldham Council that instead of the government leading an investigation, Oldham must follow in the footsteps of other towns such as Rotherham and Telford and commission its own inquiry into the historical abuse of children. So these are structural problems in local towns that have led to abuse cases not being properly sorted out, essentially, for want of a better phrase. And rather than going to central government, you need to sort out the problems that you have structurally with your own setups. Anyway, so that's a little bit of a background there. A national inquiry by Professor Alexis J concluded in 2022, and investigations into Greater Manchester Police handling of child sexual abuse cases in Manchester, Oldham, and Rochdale have also been carried out. Rowbotham, who was played by Maxine Peake in the award-winning BBC drama Three Girls, dismissed Musk's calls for another public inquiry, but said the UK still needed to get to the bottom of the motivations of paedophile rings, which she said were often dominated by Asian men. And this is where the right wing has been playing a really big role in saying, like, this is a Muslim male problem, and that then drives a wedge between these communities, and it then boils over into issues of immigration. And that's not to ignore that there might be these issues within certain cultural milieu to do with, in this case, child sexual grooming, etc., etc. But it's about doing things properly. It's about properly understanding what's going on here, what are the motivations, and what the reality is, actually, because this has been really misconstrued, I think, very often. Anyway, I don't really want to go down that route, because then we have to get into the details, the finer details of all these cases, and this is not the time or the place. But, quote, we need to discover the motivations, not just sexual, behind the abuse. We're going to prevent it from happening again and again, she said. Absolutely correct. In a further intervention, the father of the woman who was a main prosecution witness against the Rochdale paedophile gang said it was strange that a US billionaire was attempting to intervene in the UK. The man whose eldest daughter was known as Girl A during court proceedings said, "It is strange that the richest man in the world has got time to start getting involved in UK politics. Girl A was groomed and abused in Rochdale by at least 50 men from the age of 12. Her family discovered the abuse after she smashed up a restaurant at the age of 14, etc., etc., etc." All horrible stuff. Asked about Musk's comments on Friday, Wes Streeting, the health secretary, told ITV News the criticisms were misjudged and certainly misinformed. Some of the criticisms that Elon Musk has made, I think, are misjudged and certainly misinformed, but we're willing to work with Elon Musk, who I think has got a big role to play with his social media platform to help us and other countries to tackle this serious issue. So if he wants to work with us and roll his sleeves up, we'd welcome that, which is kind of trying to play this thing very carefully. Wes Streeting, the health secretary, understands how powerful Musk is and doesn't want to pee him off too much, and for this to become a battle between the UK government and Elon Musk. However, I think it's now gone past that point where Musk has basically declared war on the UK. Okay, and Musk has just gone nuts, though. So he's saying some examples of the things he's come out and said, which are truly astonishing, given that this man is at the center of the White House. So this is effectively a White House, even though he's unelected, he is a member of the White House, Doge, a Department of Government Efficiency. He is, it appears to be, I would say, Trump's right-hand man. I would say Trump is his right-hand man. So for him to come out and attack the UK government, the special relationship et al., in this way is astonishing. Starmer, so our Prime Minister, was complicit in the Grape of Britain. What does that even mean? So Starmer was complicit in the Grape of Britain when he was head of Crown prosecution for 6 years. Starmer must go, and he must face charges for his complicity in the worst mass crime in the history of Britain. Absolutely astonishing. Mehdi Hassan says back to him, so he is a British journalist, now US, is he a US citizen now? Anyway, Musk sounds, both in language, style and content, more and more like the nut job in the comments section of a far-right website. Sadly, he isn't, though. He's the richest man on earth, owner of this site and advisor to the next US president. The UK is supposed to be an ally of the US. This is serious. Don't just dismiss this as Elon Musk, or he's saying the right things, or whatever. If you are either going to dismiss what Musk is saying or agree with what Musk is saying, this is even if you think Musk has the right to say what he's saying, not the right, if he's justified in holding those opinions, and I would disagree with that, There's a lot of nuance in this. This is a really delicate matter. But even if you did agree with like his conclusions, this is the wrong way to go about it, right? There are back channels. There are things you do other than attacking the UK, attacking the UK government, attacking the UK Prime Minister in public, and ask for new elections to take place, ask for the King to get involved, and ask for Starmer to be locked up, and then take a pot shot on a number of other politicians in the UK. This is absolutely terrible. Right. So Elon Musk here, again, the worst mass crime against the people of Britain ever. Now, he is retweeting Mario Norfal, who is a terrible human, saying more than 1 million child victims. And this is on the back of Musk retweeting yesterday 250,000 child rape victims in this scandal. 1 million child victims. There are only 70 million, 1 in 70 people are child rape victims of these grooming gangs in Rochdale and Oldham. What are you talking about? This is absolutely egregious that you could spread this rampant disinformation. So, more than 1 million child victims. Britain's grape gangs expose a national tragedy. Rotherham MP Sarah Champion warned nearly a decade ago, etc., etc., etc. And this is what talking about championing. This is what Elon Musk is championing. More than complicit, he was a participant in the mass rape of Britain, says Elon Musk, talking about Lord Ahmed, a former Labour peer guilty of child sex offences. So trying to take these disparate kind of scandals, smash them all together and say this government is all complicit. And just retweeting any old Egypt who is going to be piling in on this. So the sources that he uses are terrible. Anyway, here we have Elon Musk again saying, in the UK, serious crimes such as rape require the Crown Prosecution Service's approval for the police to charge suspects. Who was ahead of the CPS when grape gangs were allowed to exploit young girls without facing justice? Keir Starmer, 2008 to 2013. So someone replies to this. In the USA, serious crimes such as rape will result in you being elected president. Who was in charge of the platform that promoted the proven rapist during the election campaign? Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a grape apologist. And then alongside of the sexual abuse, historical sexual abuse cases that happened, way back when, and the present government, well, it's just happened chronically over different governments, actually. You also have this situation of Tommy Robinson, like I've already mentioned, being imprisoned for contempt of court, for not doing X, Y, and Z, and rightly put in prison, and Elon Musk calling for him to be released. So, British police exposed the PSYOP running rampant on Twitter about why Stephen Yaxley Lennon, aka Tommy Robinson, is in prison. The detail how he broke the law repeatedly over several years. He's exactly where he belongs. And this is the police, the Sanford police, saying, in case anyone was wondering why Stephen Yaxley Lennon, also known by a number of other names, including Little Tommy Robinson, was sent to jail, if you breach a court order and plead guilty to contempt of court, this is what happens. So why was he sent to jail? Stephen Yaxley Lennon, known by the alias Tommy Robinson, was sent to jail for contempt of court. Here are the key reasons based on available information. Contempt of court for breaching a court order in 2021, and this is on the back of already going to prison off and on for many years before this. Yaxley Lennon lost the libel case against a Syrian refugee, Jamal Hijazi, and was ordered to pay £100,000 in damages. He was also subjected to an injunction that barred him from repeating the false allegations he had made against Hijazi. Despite this, Yaxley Lennon repeatedly breached this court order by continuing to make and distribute the same false claims, including the film titled Silenced, which, by the way, Elon Musk shared. Anyway, his actions led to contempt of court charges for which he was sentenced to 18 months in prison. Previous incidents of contempt This was not the first instance of contempt charges against him. He had previously been sentenced for contempt in 2019 when he was found to have interfered with a criminal trial by filming and broadcasting footage of defendants outside Leeds Crown Court, which breached reporting restrictions, public dissemination, and false information. The breaches of the 2021 injunction involved significant public dissemination of false allegations, including showing the film in Trafalgar Square, London, where it was viewed by thousands, and posting it online where it garnered millions of views. This was considered a flagrant breach of the injunction by the courts. He's told not to share this stuff. Not only did he not share it, he shared it online to millions and in Trafalgar Square in pub. It's just... The sentencing was based on the legal principle that nobody is above the law and that court orders must be adhered to, emphasising the seriousness with which the courts viewed contempt of court, particularly when it involves undermining judicial proceedings or violating injunctions designed to protect individuals from defamation. And this is a guy, obviously broken the law, pleaded guilty to breaking the law, and is a known far-right activist. And this is the guy that is championed by Elon Musk. It is unconscionable. So, as Sebastian Payne here says, Elon's adoration of Tommy Robinson is Nigel Farage's biggest test in years. Now, this is where it gets pretty funky. Farage has gone towards the political mainstream by carefully shunning Robinson and the far right. If he fails to denounce Musk at his Leicester reform rally this evening, it will have been for nothing. Where it gets really funky is that Nigel Farage is being given £100 million potentially by Elon Musk. And in fact, they met on December the 17th to discuss exactly this. And Nigel Farage admitted that they had discussions over money. Nigel Farage runs Reform UK. They have 5 MPs. They split the Tory vote, and that led to a landslide Labour victory. But it's not as deep as one might think, that victory, rather like the United States, in fact, but the other way. Nonetheless, it is somewhat different because there are an awful lot of Labour MPs and a massive majority. Okay, so Nigel Farage, though, holds the future of the Conservative Party in his hands. Does he merge with the Conservative Party? Does he go separate? What will happen in the next election? Will he split the vote? Will Reform overtake the Conservative Party, etc., etc.? If he has £100 million from Elon Musk, then he has a very good chance of being able to destroy the Conservative Party and turn the UK to the populist right that we see with MAGA, with AFD, with Rassemblement National, with all the people that Musk seems to be advocating for around the world. Okay, but Nigel Farage has been careful to distance himself from Tommy Robinson because he knows that Tommy Robinson is political poison and is just a bit of he's a bad apple. But if Musk is singing the praises of Tommy Robinson, asking him to be freed, and Nigel Farage has previously completely distanced himself from Tommy Robinson and that area of the far right, then there's a dilemma here for Nigel Farage. So that is fascinating. Alex Wickman, says senior politicians on the UK right have privately contacted Donald Trump's allies, urging them not to endorse far-right activist Tommy Robinson. The view in both the Tory party and Reform is that Elon Musk has gone too far by backing Tommy Robinson. Essentially, Elon Musk is out of freaking control. So, Jessica Seymour KC here says, so legal person here says, today he has put out numerous false and defamatory tweets. Anyone would think he was working for an enemy state. This is about Elon Musk, about this kind of like attack on Keir Starmer. Absolutely incredible. Lots of people sort of piling in on this on both sides, of course, as you would expect. So let us proceed. Okay. Dave Lawrence here says, I don't care what anyone says. This is now completely out of control. What's Elon Musk done as well? He's then gone after Jess Phillips, a Birmingham Labour MP. She's been around for quite a long time now. Most people in the UK know of Jess Phillips. She has been on the end of a lot of abuse herself, Jess Phillips. As mentioned earlier, she has been a stalwart defender of women's rights and domestic abuse victims, etc., etc. And Elon Musk says of her, Jess Phillips is a grape genocide apologist. It is absolutely insane. As he retweets, meet Jess Phillips. She is a safeguarding minister. She has refused an inquiry into Muslim grooming gangs. Can someone tell her she is supposed to be safeguarding children, not the gangs? And of course, the idea is it's like not a centralized inquiry. It should be localized inquiries into what your issues are in your local places. Anyway, Stephen Knight. This is really interesting. I was interviewed by Stephen Knight. I don't know. After I wrote my first book, I was on BBC Question Time. Not Question Time. I was never on Question Time. I was on BBC Big Questions, which is a Sunday morning big sort of philosophical show, and we were talking about whether free will exists because I've written a book on free will. And Godless Spellchecker interviewed me, and he's like an atheist podcaster, quite big, but then he went down the real right wing. A couple of people I know have done this, and he has been absolutely vehemently anti-left for a good 5, 6, 7 years. Interestingly, what he said on Twitter is right. Before you start, says Stephen Knight, I've spent plenty of my time, and he has, believe you me, plenty of my time banging the drum about grooming gangs in the UK. I grew up in Hayward, Rochdale area of Greater Manchester, where one of the most notorious grape gangs operated. I've interviewed survivors and criticised our institutions for sweeping it under the carpet due to cultural sensitivity. These are unforgivable crimes, and we should never stop talking about it. And I've been called all sorts of names for doing so. So I'm glad more people are now talking about it. Okay, we can wonder whether all of that is fully correct, whether that's his interpretation of how it's gone, and you can sit on both sides of the debate on that, right? But this is the important part. But if you think what Musk is doing here is anything short of dangerous lunacy that only increases the safety concerns of British MPs, then we aren't the same. And this is on the back of Joe Cox, who was murdered by a far right. One of our MPs, a Labour MP, was murdered when there was far right whipping up of anti-immigrant sentiment, etc., etc. Joe Cox was murdered, and we all like, oh, we're not going to do this again. Elon Musk comes along and like, oh, we are going to do this again. Will this result in MPs like Jess Phillips being murdered? Will this result in our MPs being attacked on account of the most powerful man on earth with the biggest megaphone on earth casting his opinion about things, and there are lots of community notes about what he is saying, casting his poorly formed opinions on things of which he doesn't really know all that much? So Trevor McCardle here says, the past 9 years, Jess Phillips MP has stood in the House of Commons and read the name of every woman that lost their life to domestic violence. She does so as testament to the women's lives and to our collective failure. And the shit Elon Musk calls her a grape genocide apologist. It's absolutely unconscionable. As the New European says, Elon Musk is out of control and a danger to British society. How long before some deranged lunatic acts on this kind of incitement? Keir Starmer must take a stand against Elon Musk. As Tanita Tikaram says, my goodness, people from all over the shop are getting involved. So Musk and Farage, who support Trump is accused of rape, sexual assault and sexual harassment, including non-consensual kissing or groping, by at least 25 women. And fanboy sex trafficker Andrew Tate will now save UK women and girls from grooming gangs in UK, and the UK media believes them. Absolutely incredible, isn't it? Like the lack of self-awareness here. As many people have been citing Trump, 5 kids, 3 women, cheated on all of them. Hegseth, 7 kids from 3 women, cheated on all of them. Musk, 11 kids from 3 women, cheated on all of them. And all 3 men credibly accused of rape and sexual abuse are lecturing us about conservative and strong family values. The hypocrisy is the point. Anti-child sexual exploitation advocates. Elon Musk and, his, in a photo with Ghislaine Maxwell. Interesting. Wonder what she did. Yeah. John Sweeney, who I've interviewed, said that in this tweet, Elon Musk, and the tweet where he says Jess Phillips is a great genocide apologist. I mean, goodness me, I'd be doing an absolute defamation case against Musk. In this tweet, Elon Musk accuses Jess Phillips of being a great genocide apologist. This is evil nonsense. Musk has lost his marbles. Perhaps we do need a wide inquiry into extremism in British life. Neither Islamic State or a fascist beneficiary of apartheid like Musk or hustlers for Russian money like Tommy Robinson are welcome here. Here's TR's review with a Russian website. And quote, and as for Skripal, if Russia needed to get rid of him, it would have done it quietly without unnecessary noise, without using Russian chemical weapons. It was stupid. That's Tommy Robinson. Question, would you like to meet Putin? And what would you say to him if such a meeting took place? Tommy Robinson, of course I would like to meet him. I would say, let's have a glass of beer, Vladimir. He is the most powerful man in the West. I would ask Putin to fight against censorship and propaganda, which is also used against his country. I would ask him to give me a TV show on Russian television. As John Sweeney says, Tommy Robinson is Putin's bitch, so I fear is Musk. This is all so dangerous. Armando Iannucci, the famous comedian or comedic writer, so many great shows, Veep and In the Thick of It and Death of Stalin and all of that. Armando Iannucci is a genius. Jess Phillips is a committed and caring minister, and you, sir, are a toxic gonad. The UK is not your plaything. Wealth doesn't exempt you from international law, and owning X doesn't give you license to poison the discourse of any country whose government you disagree with. Fricking right, Armando. In fact, the New European have done a couple of really good articles. One here, a loudmouth liar with a messiah complex. No wonder Musk loves Tommy Robinson. The billionaire's bizarre campaign to have a far-right activist released from jail speaks volumes about his own ignorance and erratic character. And it great article with some nuance, by the way, as well. And then we're just going to read the end. And, as if on cue, up stepped Musk to put his ignorance on full display, once again posting on Twitter X that Jess Phillips, quote, deserves to be in prison over her role in the scandal. It was a bizarre remark given that Phillips has only been the safeguarding minister for 6 months, and when she was a backbench MP, she was one of the most persistent campaigners for justice for the victims. On Friday, the Telegraph splashed the news of the bizarre attack on Phillips, laundering Musk's bizarre remarks into the supposedly respectable mainstream. So the Telegraph is kind of, unfortunately, whitewashing this kind of these kinds of statements. That telling the public not to care about these issues doesn't work, and it helps the far right like they're onto something. The details of these criminal cases are horrifying. The independent inquiry into child sexual abuse was primarily focused on a different scandal of institutional child abuse in organisations run and managed by the state. Public confidence that something like the Rotherham scandal couldn't happen again is low. It is a straightforward failure of mainstream politics that ministers, especially of a governing party that hasn't been in power for 14 years, can't grasp that and tackle it. The result is that a worryingly large slice of the public looks to Tommy Robinson, the wider far right, or even Elon Musk as the only people who care about abuse. But in reality, Elon Musk and Yaxley Lennon, Tommy Robinson, are opportunistic grifters, spreading obvious falsehoods. Our real source of alarm should be that mainstream politicians can't win an argument against them. And this is the problem. Like, how do you tackle the Elon Musk problem? And then he just goes to even worse places now. He's reposting, as this person says, now Space Karen, Elon Musk, is retweeting Joey effing Barton. If you don't know, Joey Barton is a footballer, a former footballer in the UK, and even as a manager was an absolute tit. He was really quite violent. He's highly controversial footballer, soccer player in the UK. And Elon Musk is retweeting this guy who is like, honestly, like, pick your sources. And yeah, so that's where Elon Musk is at the moment. He's just trawling the internet and splurging, megaphoning these really problematic opinions out to the masses. Another source here says, "Hi, Elon Musk." So Elon Musk says, "The people of Britain do not want this government at all. New elections. Please don't speak on our behalf." "Hi, Elon Musk. We didn't want the Tories either, but we followed our process and waited for general election to be called. That's how this country works. It's a democracy and we all follow the rules, as we always have. You don't speak for millions of Brits, even though your ego thinks you do." And Karen Piper then responds to Elon Musk, who says yes to "the king must step in. We can't have Keir heading the country." So somehow King Charles needs to depose monarchistically, like autocratically. I mean, this is kind of what Elon Musk is all about, isn't it? Elon wants the king to overrule the will of the people in the UK, says Karen Piper. Just imagine what he has in store for the US. Ow. New European again says every member of Keir Starmer's government should publicly slap this kind of nonsense down. Not to do so is both cowardly and disloyal to a colleague. There is no long game about it. Elon Musk's behaviour is vile and dangerous. This is unacceptable. And by the way, I've only given you a real minuscule amount of what Elon Musk has said. So this is Elon Musk's handle here. Retweeting Liz Truss. The BBC needs to be defunded, blah, blah, blah. Now, another Conservative defected to Reform, so bigging up Reform and reposting some other person who's defected to Reform. Then, attacking California. Here, we've got Rupert Lowe. It's high time, says Elon Musk. Breaking Reform MP Rupert Lowe blasts the political establishment. Elon Musk has done more for the abused British girls in a few days than almost any British politician has in decades, says Rupert Lowe. And this is interesting because this is where Reform need to be careful with Elon Musk, because of Elon Musk advocating for Tommy Robinson, as mentioned, is all highly controversial. And Elon Musk, again, Rupert Lowe, Visegrad, who I often source, but have try not to these days. They ain't too cool. Again, true. Elon Musk says true. They let hundreds of thousands of young British girls get raped for years and called anyone raising an alarm about it a racist, said libs of TikTok. And he says that's true. Show me that's true, that hundreds of thousands of British girls have been raped. Just please show me the evidence of what you are claiming here, because this is really egregious stuff. And then it goes on and on and on and on and on, just attacking Keir Starmer. Look, this is Elon Musk reposting this. I facilitate child rape, and picture of Keir Starmer. Like, this is a special relationship. This is someone at the heart of the White House is doing this. This isn't just anyone. This isn't Elon Musk on his own, not connected to the American government. This is the man at the centre of the American government. This is the man that's been sitting next to Donald Trump every time we see Donald Trump photographed and videoed. New Year's Eve, American football games. Elon Musk is there with him, singing YMCA, dancing foolishly next to Donald Trump. This is not just a rando. This is someone at the heart of the American government slagging off the UK government, Prime Minister, etc., etc. As a New European says here, must slap down Elon Musk before someone gets killed. Keir Starmer must slap Elon Musk down before someone gets killed. This deranged, disgusting attack on Jess Phillips deserves a public rebuke, not just behind-the-scenes diplomacy. And Ben Block here says, putting aside that this is not how democracy works in any way, shape or form, the government needs to figure out how to deal with Elon Musk and his interventions, because this is not sustainable. So Elon Musk calling for, the people of Britain do not want this government at all, new elections. And he's now got GB News, who is like Reform UK's political wing, media wing, saying Elon Musk calls for a new election in Britain as new poll shows Labour support is plummeting, blah, blah, blah. Elon Musk is just being politically divisive. How do we deal with this is the question, and Ben Block has nailed it there. Interesting aside here, as Sundar Katwala says, it seems likely that Elon Musk has lost half of the UK Twitter daily audience by now. He lost a third by September, but November, December was bigger than August and September. Key missing point of context in reporting on Musk is how much his antics are shrinking the audience. So X and Twitter user numbers have declined significantly over the last year, falling especially steeply in the UK, says the Financial Times here. Although this graphic only goes up to September 2024, so it'll be interesting to see since then. Now, this is where he gets really divisive. There'll be people on the far right and the populist right who will be loving what Elon Musk is doing. And there'll be some of you out there watching this going, you don't know what you're talking about, JP. You're just some liberal lefty, blah, blah, blah. I'm loving what Elon Musk is doing. Fair enough. I completely disagree. This is egregious, and it's not to belittle like the issues of those cases that have taken place, but Elon Musk knows virtually nothing about them. He's just caught on to what some far right activists and plonkers have said, and he's shouting it from the rafters. He didn't know anything about the Oldham and Rochdale cases, Rotherham cases, and Rochdale. He is someone who sits on Twitter just cycling through stuff that, and then picking things that pique his fancy, and throws them out to his massive 200 million person audience. London Economic reports Elon Musk is roundly disliked by most Brits. I would include myself in those most Brits. But he has huge, I think, importance. Brexit pirates. Brits think Elon Musk is a twat. Again, Sundar Katwala. Elon Musk's reputation in Britain from 2022 up to autumn 2024, before his Trump and Farage and Tommy endorsements. Will be interesting to see a German time series. The impact may be more heavily on Musk's reputation in the UK and Germany than on the issues Musk hopes to influence. But his unfavourability and favourability have gone into very different directions. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who do like him. And I was called out on like, oh, you know what you're talking about. You need to do some research. He's not giving money to Nigel Farage. This was debunked. It's like, no, it wasn't. It claimed to be not true initially back at the beginning of December. And December the 17th, the two met. Elon Musk and Nigel Farage met, and Nigel Farage has discussed this on national television, that he has been in conversations with Elon Musk about that money. And we now hear, is this a newly registered company going to be the vehicle that Elon Musk sends money to Reform UK through? X.AI London Limited. He's just set up one active person with significant control, Mr. Elon Musk correspondence address in London, notified on 12th of December 2024. It looks like it could well be on the way to happening. And he is getting involved very seriously in UK politics. And then you've got JD Vance then popping along after that and saying, so Elon Musk endorsed AFD and then wrote an article in Die Welt. And JD Vance said, I'm not endorsing a party in the German elections, as it's not my country and we hope to have good relations with all Germans. But this is an interesting piece. Also interesting, American media slanders AFD as Nazi light, but AFD is most popular in the same areas of Germany that were most resistant to the Nazis. So JD Vance, the vice president of the US, is then picking up on actually disinformation from Elon Musk and spreading disinformation here in like, that is not true what he says. So as James Sorviecki says, this is objectively false from Vance. The AFD is most popular in the states of Thuringia and Saxony, both of which, far from being resistant to the Nazis, were Nazi strongholds in a run-up to Hitler seizing power. And then loads of people were at fact claiming, not on this one, on his original, on JD Vance's original post, loads of people piled in and loads of maps saying, no, this is false. It's just false. It's just objectively false. And we just live in this era of disinformation. I can just splurge disinformation and there's no comeback. And if you want to believe it, you can, because we appear to live in some kind of post-truth, post-modern reality where anyone can say what the hell they like and get away with it. There's no comeuppance to lying and to disinformation. You know, Elon Musk every day is saying this platform is a top source for news on Earth. Actually, it depends how you define a source, because it's like it's not the primary source. It's like the quaternary source. It's not the source of news. You go to here to get an aggregation of other sources. So anyway, but it is worrying that, you know, there is so much disinformation spread by Elon Musk himself on this platform, and it is doing damage to the relationship between the UK and the US at a time when we need to be unified in our support for Ukraine. We need to be unified with a common agenda for the direction we want the world to go in, vis-a-vis democracy and hopefully truth. I don't know. I just it enrages me, this. You know, people say, oh, you're so obsessed with Musk. Yes, I am obsessed. I'm obsessed with people who are incredibly bad for society, and I want to be obsessed with people who are really good for society, and I want to champion them, but they seem to be few and far between at the moment. We seem to live in a world where the bad guys have the biggest megaphones and the bad guys keep getting voted in. It's just not cool. And yeah, anyway, let me know what you think about this. I think this is a really, really bad situation. Geopolitically, it's not just a spat between one bloke having a go, you know, a spat between one bloke and a government, one guy having a go at another country's government. This is now an international issue, given who Musk is and where he is positioned.